Okay, so a new Fire Emblem game released without any kind of marketing, and it's a social deduction game a la Among Us or Werewolf. And people don't really quite know what to make of it. I've seen some discourse around the game, let's be polite, and I want to wait until I've actually tried the game for myself for a little while until I start to talk about it. And now that I've done so, I wanted to share some of my thoughts. The game is fun. This is what it boils down to. I think the game is very fun, and a lot of people didn't really give it a chance, which is really unfortunate. It's really sad to see people kind of dogpile on something they don't quite get or nor are willing to give it a chance. At the same time, I know the game is not doing any favors for itself with the whole lack of marketing and the fact it's a very unique take on Fire Emblem. It's less disconnected from Fire Emblem than I first thought. I guess that's the first thing I want to touch about. From afar, this looks very remote from Fire Emblem. Oh, this is like if someone had an idea for a different game and they kind of slapped Fire Emblem at the end, put a fantasy setting, and were like, that's good enough. It's Fire Emblem enough. And I guess in some ways, it could still kind of feel like that. But after playing for a little while, honestly, it's about as Fire Emblem as Heroes is. So if you consider Heroes to be like equally as Fire Emblem as main entries, I think Shadows also count. We're gonna talk about the gameplay a little bit. So how it works is that you play this game in teams of three. Two players are playing for the good side, the light side, and one is secretly evil shadow side. So you play a little map of a pseudo-automatic Fire Emblem, basically. Your units will move in phases. There's a player and an enemy phase. During player phase, your units move towards the closest enemy, and they try to attack it at the end of the timer. And same thing for the enemies during their own phase. And you have 4 skills, a little more if you're the bad guy, that you can use. They're on their own cooldown, and basically you try to complete the map as fast as you can, while the shadow guy tries to sabotage your attempts, or not. And you kind of need to keep an eye on that. And that's one of the aspects I really like, is because as you play this kind of auto battler thing, you also have to keep track of everyone's actions to try and see who could be the bad guy. And honestly, I think that's why movement is automatic in this game, because otherwise it would be kind of a lot to do. And I really like that aspect of, I'm playing, but at the same time as I'm doing my actions, I'm kind of watching my back. It really does help the paranoia aspect of the game. At the end of this first room, you've got a second one. How that works is that before the second room starts, you have to vote on who you think the bad guy is. If you guess correctly, as a good guy, you get 2 revives for the upcoming fight. Otherwise, you get only 1, and your HP from the first phase carry over. So if you died in the first phase, you immediately consume 1 revive when you enter the second, which is also part of the strategy for the bad guy, because you can try and rack up damage on the first run, like go, I don't care about being stealthy, I'm just gonna fucking kill them. And it can work, honestly. You can make some pretty fun stuff happen. And yeah, on that second room, you fight the enemy. You fight the player that was playing as the shadow player, and they transform. This game loves its furries. I'm no one to judge. I'm just a Sichuan. It's pretty funny to see Uma Musume Lin and Grinder Dimitri. I don't know. It's funny to me, okay? I'm not judging. One aspect that I really like is that characters each have 1 signature skill. And aside from that, you can kind of build them however you want. If you want to build a tanky one, if you want to build a healer, if you want to build someone that likes every elemental magic, if you want to build someone that does summons, you can do it. So it really expands on your strategy choice. Don't get me wrong, this game looks silly, and the social deduction aspect is a very huge part of it, because it gives a strong boost or debuff depending on how well you do or how well you deceive. But at its core, it's a very strategic game. You still have, aside from the people strategy, you actually have to lock in during that second room. Because the first room will clear regardless of whether the player characters win or not. The difference being that if the player team is wiped during the first room, the shadow player has a huge advantage because they will at most have 1 revive or 0, depending on if they guess right. On the second room, you actually have to make pretty good usage of your skills, your weapon type, etc. And dare I say, it's one of my favorite implementations of Fire Emblem multiplayer? Is that allowed? Full disclosure, I have not played, I think it was on the DS remakes of Fire Emblem 1 and 2. I think they had multiplayer, and I never had someone to play those with, specifically. But I've played the other games multiplayers. And yeah, this one feels good because the games are short. It doesn't feel as repetitive as it should, because there's always the human aspect is very strong when someone is actually trying to deceive you. Again, it's kind of like the Among Us and Werewolf games. Each people has their strategy to try and trick you. So since you always have to be on your guard, basically, some people have different ways of trying to lie to you. So it does mix things up. And because you can try and change characters or build often, it's pretty easy to go for a different playstyle and actually have stuff feel different. You can try to make someone that does AoEs, that someone that keeps the players alive. I love playing an enemy boss that's basically surround their people with minions to lock them into one position and then spam an AoE skill that does lots of damage that they could theoretically dodge, but they can't because of my minions. So yeah, gameplay wise, this game has more meat on its bones than it looks like, and I would really recommend giving it a try if you don't believe me. You don't need to play your entire life away on this game, but I would recommend trying. What else? When it comes to the story, how it works is that you have 2 paths. You have 2 story paths, one for the good side, one for the evil side. Every good game is a ripoff of Sonic Adventure 2, so this game is good by default. Sorry. Basically, when you queue up for a match, you can choose good side, bad side, or either side, with either side giving you more progression. And you get free rewards for progressing on either of the sides. And one of these rewards are the story progression. So just playing and then watching story from time to time at the end of the session is enough to progress, and more importantly, it's enough to unlock characters, because this is not a gacha. God fucking bless. Yes, thank you. I am a bit worried about this game's monetization system because there's not exactly a lot of incentive to buy stuff. Yet I say that, but I also bought 2 packs to level up Kurt and get his 1Z skin because I love him. I love him very much. Yeah, the story is cool so far. I like the setting, I like the characters, I like where it's going. I am wondering where exactly they are going with this though. Because of the whole, someone among us is a traitor to the shadow, etc. aspect. Is this gonna be a loop of getting backstabbed all over again? I don't know. I'll say this. On the story, I'm hooked so far. But I am a bit worried for the future, and I'm kind of in this let's see what they're doing stance. We'll see if it pays off. Characters are neat. The characters are cool. I like some of those designs. I wasn't exactly the strongest fan of Engage's character's design philosophy, which I will not describe with words because I don't want this to be about Engage. I don't want this to be an Engage discourse video. But I didn't really like Engage's both art style and art direction. And this evokes Engage to me in some ways. But I feel like I'm more okay with it. Maybe it's because it's a mobile side game. Or maybe it's different enough that I appreciate it. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Maybe there's some bias here. But I like what I'm seeing. Again, some of those characters, I'm holding them like a little stress ball because I love them already. And it's always good to get me by the feels. There's a lot of original characters and basically Lynn and Dimitri as other games characters, which makes me feel like gonna see mostly main characters from other games as guests in this one. And because when you're a bad guy, you have this bad, fucked up, possibly furry form, etc. I'm kind of interested to see what they do with some of those. Like, for example, how do you take Claude and make an evil form out of him? Or how do you take Lucina and make an evil form out of her? Some of those, like Corrin, are pretty easy. I want to see Shadow Ike. You know, it does get to my brain to try and imagine evil forms for some of those characters. I want to see evil Ash from Heroes. No, actually I don't. That would make me sad. But yeah, pretty interesting game. I really wanted to do well, but they've not started properly. This is a bit of a weirdo game. Like, it works. It does implement stuff from Fire Emblem in a really cool and unique way. It's a very cool Fire Emblem multiplayer thing. And that's why it warranted more publicity and more explanation, so people actually knew what this is and what they're getting into, if they so desire to get into it. And people kind of didn't. I've seen people being very doomer about this game, being like, oh, it's gonna EOS very soon, whatever, fuck this thing. And some of them are turning around from what I'm hearing, because they've actually tried the game. They're like, hey, this kind of holds up, what the fuck? And the problem is the what the fuck in that sentence, because no one actually believed this would hold up. Aside from people that like tried day one because they were curious and kind of waited to form an opinion, people did not believe in this game because they didn't give them any reason to. This is what the marketing is for. It's honestly pretty arrogant to think you don't need to market it this. Or maybe they don't believe in it enough. I don't know, it's one of the two, and I don't know if I like either of this. Yeah, another win for the waiting to actually experience something before making an opinion out of it movement. But this is the internet. We don't do that here, silly Billy. I don't want to flame people too much, because again, I dislike people having that kind of argument, but it's also fair, honestly. It's kind of understandable. All I'm saying, all this video is for, is saying I've played Fire Emblem Shadows. I really like it. Give it a try. Worst case scenario, this game is not gonna squish you for money. You're gonna lose like 1 or 2 hours of your life. It's fine. It's fine. You could use them far worse than playing a game that some people really do love and some others kind of think nothing about. And I will keep an eye on it and cover this game more if it's warranted. If there's actually anything big to talk about later. Bye-bye.